You know, we talk a lot about the church age and the rapture. The rapture is a signless event. There's no signs that we're looking for before this event's going to take place, so it could happen today. You might be walking out of this conference center, and just like that, we're up there with the Lord in the air. Following that, like we talked about earlier, there's going to be a judgment seat of Christ that we have to face. And I'll talk more about that in just a little bit too. Meanwhile on earth, there is the 7-year tribulation period. This begins when the Antichrist signs a covenant with Israel. He will not have a badge on his shirt that says Antichrist. He will seem to be a great and charismatic leader that has the answers that the world craves for. But indeed, he will be the Antichrist. At the end of the tribulation, after 7 years, Christ will come again, and he will set up his glorious millennial kingdom. And yes, I take it to be literal. It will be a literal 1,000-year period during which Christ will rule on the throne of David. And at the end of it will be the great white throne judgment, which is the judgment of the wicked dead. And the purpose of the great white throne judgment is not only to populate the lake of fire, but also to assign degrees of punishment. Some people are more wicked than others, and Christ will assign degrees of punishment in the lake of fire. Meanwhile, the redeemed, that includes you and I and all who have trusted in Christ, will live forever in a new heavens and a new earth. Now, this is a one-page summary of the big picture, and so what I want to do right now is to back off a little bit and examine some details of the big picture, and then following that, we'll look at the course of the present age. I want to go back a little bit further in terms of the big picture and talk about the rebirth of Israel first, and I'll tell you why. You see, the rebirth of Israel got everything else started. Nothing else makes sense without that foundational prophecy being fulfilled. I can tell you 2 words why I believe the Bible is true. The Jews. That's right, the Jews. Just think about it for a minute. The Jewish people are the only exiled people to remain a distinct people. The Jews are the only people to return to their ancient homeland. The Jews are the only people on earth to have revived their ancient dead language. And the Jews are the only people to have restored their nation, all in fulfillment of biblical prophecy. You see, this is God. This is a God thing. When you look at the Jewish people, everything about common sense tells you that they should have been wiped out by now. But God preserved them because God made unconditional covenants with the Jewish people, and he is going to fulfill them. They will not be fulfilled in the church. They will be fulfilled to Israel. And when the millennial kingdom occurs, we're going to find a regenerate Israel, in the land that was promised to them in the Deuteronomic covenant, in Deuteronomy chapter 30. All those land boundaries. It's going to be an awesome thing.